It's a formula that I've used to attain everything in my life. Like literally everything you see me have, whether it was, just everything, is with the abundance formula. And the thing about this formula is that everyone knows the formula. The problem is that 99% of people misapply it. Most people are waiting to have, to then take action, to then become whatever it is that they want to become. So let's take real estate as an example, right? Or buying a home for an example, I should say. Most people are waiting to have $100,000. Once I have $100,000, I'll finally go take action, go to an open house, and then I'll become a homeowner. The problem with that mentality is that it's related to having a low self-worth, and it's related to having a bad relationship with money. See, if you're always worried about not having enough money, if you're always worried about not saving enough money, then what happens is you're going to hoard all of your money. And if you hoard all of your money, you're never going to be able to touch the dream. You're never going to be able to taste the dream. And what will happen is then you'll become complacent. And you become complacent hoping that one day you'll have enough money so you can finally take action and you can finally become what all your dreams are. And the chances of that happening are slim to none. What probably will happen is life's going to punch you in the face. And when it punches you in the face, it's going to take all of your money, if not most of your money, and you're going to be left to continue on this endless cycle of trying to have enough money so you can finally take action, so you can finally become whatever it is that you want to become. That's a scarcity mindset. The mindset you want to have is a mindset of abundance. And it's basically the same thing, except it's upside down. Instead of have first you become, then you take action, then you have whatever it is that you want in life. So what is become? Becomes everything we've been talking about on this podcast. Becoming starts with hope, the desire to want to do something great with your life, the declaration that you're going to do something great with your life, knowing that God is with you, right? That hope. Then comes the faith, right? So it's becoming, starts with hope. It also is part of faith. Faith, even if you're not a person of faith, a person that is a believer, faith is also positive mental attitude. I call it PMA, positive mental attitude. 90% of winning in life is just having a positive attitude, right? If you really look at faith, faith is the projection of the most beautiful possible thing for the future. What's the opposite? Fear. Fear is the projection of the worst possible thing for the future. So both of them haven't happened yet.
Wow.
That's what faith means. So whether you like it or not, you're faith-based. You're either going to be negative or you're going to be positive. I choose to be positive. That's 90% of it is winning. Faith also means taking action before you have what you need. So that's number 2 of becoming. Number 3 of becoming is you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe something in your heart before you actually have it. Believe that you're worth $100 grand a year in your heart before you actually have it. Believe that you're worth $1 million a year before you actually have it. The only way you'll believe something in your heart is by experiencing it. The only way you could ever experience it is by stepping into the uncertainty of something that demands more than you think you're worth and then succeeding at it. And once you succeed at it, you become. And when you become, you start taking action before you have what you need. You start taking action because you realize you're a money-making machine and the money's already on its way. The other thing that happens when you take action before you have what you need is you get, before that happens, you now send a signal to God, to whatever you believe in, that you do have faith. And everything in life is reciprocal. If you want something, you have to give it first. So if you want God to act on your part, guess who's got to take the first step? You have to take the first step. This is why you got to take action before you have what you need. Touch the dream, right? The other thing that happens when you take action before you have what you need is you get a blueprint of what you need. And then all you have to do once you have the blueprint is now you reverse engineer it. You start breaking it down to the ridiculous. The more you can break it down to the ridiculous, the more attainable it becomes. The more attainable it becomes, the more you're going to want to get off your butt to go make it happen. What causes you to take action is your ability to think you can get a result. So the more attainable it becomes, the more you're like, oh man, I could make it happen. So you start even working even harder because you're like, I'm so close. You start even working harder. You untap this tremendous amount of energy that you didn't even know you had. And then once you have that, the last thing you need is have. Most people mess this up because have is you give yourself a deadline on when you're going to do it by. So you give yourself a date. I'm going to do it by 90 days. I'm going to do it 6 months later, but by this date, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And then you just go full throttle. Here's the problem. Right before you're going to get your blessing, life's going to punch you in the face harder than it's ever punched you. And what's going to knock you down. And it's at this point that you got to make a decision. Number one, are you going to spring back up? But then you have to make a different decision, which is, am I going to revert back to the person I've always been? Maybe it's a person that you always make excuses on how life isn't fair, how you're just not supposed to be successful. You just don't, it's not meant to be. Or are you going to spring back up, push forward against that resistance that's coming your way, focus on what you can control, and all these things that seem impossible, have faith that God will put the right people in front of you to make the impossible possible. And what will happen is, to me, I mean, I could sit here for hours and tell you different miracles that have happened in my life, last minute, where I thought it was all going to crap. But I never lost faith. I was like, I'm going to keep pushing, and I know it's going to happen. And I can't tell you how many times the right people have shown up in my life to make the impossible possible. But it's because I never gave up. I never confessed with my tongue it's not going to happen. No matter how crazy it seemed at the time, I just said, man, we're going to figure this thing out. I'm going to keep pushing, and I'm going to focus on what I can control. In order for this formula to work, you have to have 5 characteristics. You have to have faith, which we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast. You got to have massive work ethic. You got to have discipline. The higher the discipline, the happier you'll be in life. The lesser the discipline, the less happy you'll be in life. That simple. Perseverance. You're not born with perseverance, you have to build it. The way you build it is by falling on your ass and springing back up. And the last one we talked about, integrity. Being able to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Every time you keep the promises you make to yourself, you build confidence. And if you can align your subconscious mind to align with what your conscious mind is saying, you'll speak things into existence. And everything you've seen me attain in life, it's that formula, that simple. Just most people have it backwards.